and welcome to Design Chat, the best live design discussion on the internet. I'm your host, Brian McGovern. On Twitter, I'm at Hoopajube and at Design Chat. Thank you guys for coming. So Design Chat is something we do every week. We bring anybody and everybody and designers and creative people to the web to talk about design and meet interesting people in design, break down the barriers, the competitive barriers and the corporate barriers in design, and create design communities. So in the spirit of that, we have brought Josh Bodnar. Thank you so much for coming, Josh. Welcome to Design Chat. Applause, applause. Yay.
Yay.
Not just Josh Bodnar, but Emmy Winner. Josh Bodnar won in 2007, correct?
That is correct, yes.
2007, and I was lucky enough to meet Josh. We were actually I was on a photo shoot, and we just kind of met up at this photography studio in Chicago, and he was showing off his pictures on his iPhone of him up on stage, Emmy in hand, tux or suit or looking dapper, and how fantastic was that? And
it was nice. It was fun.
And you would so let's back up a little bit. Josh Bodnar is a video editor, a movie editor, a moving picture editor and designer and creative person who just does some of the coolest things you've ever seen. One of the quick ways people are going to recognize your work, the poster right behind you, Dexter, is the piece that you won for in 2007. The introduction to Dexter, which I'll just let play behind me for a second here. I booted it up earlier, so they'll get a quick idea of, or recognition of what that is. But man, I love spending time on your site. Since I met you, I mean, if you could look on like Google Analytics and see how many times my computer has been to your site, it'd be a little embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie, it'd be a little embarrassing for me and awkward perhaps in this conversation. So I won't tell you the number, but it's just one of those things. The type of stories that you can tell in these moving pictures and just the visuals that go along with it are so moving that you can't help but be sort of magnetically drawn to these things. So definitely tonight, that's what we're going to be talking about, is your work and sort of how you tell stories,
Cool, man.
Cool. So let's start with this story. Let's start with, the first time you heard about this project at all. Where were you when you heard about this project that you were going to be involved?
So Dexter came to us from Showtime, and at the time I was working at Digital Kitchen, and I actually started at Digital Kitchen in their home office, which is in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And usually about this time in November, December is usually when I would fly from the Seattle office to the Chicago office to work on a lot of projects, because it was like, usually towards the end of the year when ad budgets are kind of ramping up and everyone's trying to pack in as many commercials as possible, they would kind of need extra editorial help. And so usually I would kind of come in, and it just so happened that at the time I was actually going to be moving I was in Seattle for about 10 years.
Right.
And I was actually kind of like looking to kind of change things up a little bit, and was offered to transfer to the Digital Kitchen Chicago office. And about the time that I was doing that, I was coming out to work on another job, and at that, ironically, at that same time, Showtime had approached Digital Kitchen to do the main titles, and the same people that were behind these main titles were the people that were behind the 6 Feet Under main titles. Okay. So they had already, understood the Digital Kitchen philosophy, and had already won an Emmy with 6 Feet Under, and it was just a logical step for them to come back to us again.
Right.
And so. Yeah, so I ended up, coming out to do just a commercial at the time, and then, in transition, I was actually started working on Dexter, and we worked on Dexter for, I want to say about a month and a half, and that was just kind of concepting, shooting Michael C. Hall. We have to, I didn't go out to LA, but the creative director and producer went out to LA. And we had Michael C. Hall in between when he was shooting for the series. So that was probably the third season or the second season.
Right.
And so in between his shooting, is he would kind of do some of the scenes, and then we had a stand-in that would kind of do some of the other stuff, and brought that footage back to Chicago, and we took another couple of weeks editing that, and then we actually ended up kind of reconcepting things and just on our own and adding shots and shooting here in Chicago to kind of put all the pieces together. And yeah, we ended up delivering it, and the show is awesome. I love the show, and the third season I think just finished up. The finale was like
The
this
biggest
last
numbers
Sunday.
that Showtime's like ever had.
It's
huge
insane.
success.
It's insane, and not only that, but Michael C. Hall's up for a Golden Globe again this year, so I'm hoping that he wins. And I actually found out yesterday. My wife had told me that Clyde Phillips, who's one of the executive producers and one of the creators of the show, is actually stepping down for the next season. He's taking some time off. So that was kind of a big thing I found out about yesterday, that I still keep in contact with a lot of the people that work on the show, and just every once in a while we kind of chat back and forth, and one of the producers is still in touch with one of the guys there too, so he kind of tells me some stuff. So it's always fun to kind of get the juice on what's happening in that world.
Right. The inside Hollywood world.
Totally,
So
yeah.
I always love hearing about the process, the creative process that's involved in doing these sorts of things. I'm sure they came with a pretty solid idea already about what the opening sequence needed to be, the opening title. So how did Digital Kitchen and your group sort of add to that creative experience, and what's the process there?
Well, I mean, I think the thing about Digital Kitchen's philosophy is that everyone can contribute. Everyone has a sort of an idea that they can kind of bring to the table, and everyone will kind of entertain. It's that collaboration that's happening there. And but I mean, aside from that, there's definitely the sort of the hierarchy of the creative director works with the designers to kind of start to flush out an idea. Right. And after that, once that's kind of realized, then we kind of go into a previs phase where we actually, soup to nuts, make that idea actually work, and will it fit in this time, and are these shots right? What kinds of things do we need to be looking at to help encourage the story or get across a point? Conceptually, is this the right thing for the product, for the show? Does the client want to see this? Those types of things kind of all come into the fold. So in Dexter specifically, once we kind of had a storyboard together, the creative director actually ended up shooting, just stills at his condo, just of, instead of going out and shooting the whole thing and not wanting to have just stills, we kind of put some stills in motion to kind of make basically an animatic. And from that point, then we kind of had a sense of what we were going to need to be shooting, and more ideas start to kind of come up as once all of us are like looking at it, and we're kind of saying, hey, it would be cool if we did this, and what about this, and how about if these couple of things tie into each other. So it's sort of a brainstorming session, and I would say a really big collaboration that kind of happens with that. And from once that happens, then we sort of on Dexter specifically, we nailed down sort of a shot list of things that we had to get. And because we had Michael C. Hall only for certain amounts of time, it was trying to, figure out, okay, can we get these kind of pickup shots while he's, on set doing something else, and we'll work with the crew, the second, the B squad, and shoot some of the stove stuff and the knife stuff and the teeth flossing and the shaving. And then when he comes in, I think we had like 3 shots with him. One was, the shirt kind of coming over his face. One was is the end. And I think there's a shot in the middle where it's actually his teeth that he's chomping at. So, it's just trying to kind of organize all of that thing. And then once we got all that footage, then coming back, it's just, it's sort of kind of laid out because we've done such a good job of planning and organizing and sort of conceptually putting the thing together before we actually even shot it. putting it together we came, a rough structure came along really easily, but then we started kind of, diving in a little bit deeper, trying to kind of cultivate all that footage and make sure we're using the proper stuff at the right moments. And then music was a huge factor. We started out using a completely different track, and unbeknownst to us, Showtime had already contracted with Ralph Kent, the composer, a song that they had already kind of licensed for ringtones and all of their thing, So
and
it was like
you guys had no idea.
We had no idea. That was
goodness.
something that was like kind of left out for us. So here we are, kind of trying to figure out something on our own. And
you kind of touched on a subject already that I want to get into, is that like the creative director took some stills, shot some images at his own place, so they're roughs, and for people who aren't involved in motion and maybe are like print designers or web designers, let's talk about specifically the actual roughs that are created. Like, do you guys have like maybe an animator come in, or are there like sketches of certain shots that you want to do that you then put into video? Because one of the things that in the print world that we always have to deal with is when we're coming up with concepts and we want to show that concept to a client to get them to buy off on that idea, so then we can go spend money and do an expensive photo shoot, we need to do roughs, right? So sometimes you'll do a Photoshop rough, sometimes you'll do a actual pen and paper kind of sketch, but then the client can have a bad reaction to that, right? They can see it and be like, I don't want that. I don't want it to look like that. Why would you do a sketch? This needs to be filmed, right?
Yeah.
And they can't, sometimes they can't accept or understand that, well, this is a rough, and then it's going to be a different visual look, but I want to get you to buy this idea. So you kind of, you started to talk about it by, you'll do a photo, but do you guys start with pen and paper sometimes and do a storyboard, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think everything is contingent on the project, on the time, on the money. All of those kind of factors wrap into it. And yeah, you're right. It is a complete double-edged sword, because sometimes you think you're doing yourself good justice by making a really kind of nasty previs, raw 3D shapes. Things don't really look good. But it can backfire on you, and it can turn into I don't want this. We didn't buy this. We bought those storyboards that look really, really pretty. Why are you showing this stuff? We're supposed to be shooting this. So yeah, it can be a thing. And I think it's also just a decision too of you understanding your client's ability to interpret what that previs is and understand it, versus if they can't, sometimes it's just an internal thing. Sometimes it's something that you put together that just the team internally knows, hey, listen, this is what's going to be happening. This is, this is how long the shots are going to be. Yeah, a lot of that is kind of just the human factor of understanding if they're going to be cool with this, or if they're just going to kind of freak out. That's just a kind of a judgment call at the time.
So a couple of show notes real quick. For anybody who's new to DesignChat, you haven't seen the show before, we do this every week. We'll do a live broadcast just like this, where we bring somebody really interesting in to talk about design or something creative. And then you can download this as a podcast on iTunes. You can watch it on Mevio, mevio.com/designchat. Or no, I take that back, designchat.com, designchat.mevio.com. Anyway, it's all on the website, designchat.info. And what's cool about being live is that you can talk to whoever we're talking to that night. So definitely, as we're going along, we're going to do another half-hour chat. Serve up questions here. We are going to harvest those questions, and we're going to give those questions back to Josh at the end. We'll do 15 minutes of Q&A, and of course, give you guys credit for those questions. I'll say your name. Say, Daniel Catino wants to know what color shoes you're wearing right now, or something really interesting like that. Thank you all, everybody who's shown up tonight. We do this every week. Definitely check us out. All right. So let's. So that was the Dexter deal. Let's go back. So we talked about Digital Kitchen a little bit. I think you're at the White House right now. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, I'm an editor at the White House here in Chicago.
What would be the URL if somebody wants to check that out?
I believe it's whitehousepost.com.
White House Post, that's right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely, that's another cool group. And we've talked about Design Kitchen here before, because we had Nick Campbell on, a.k.a. at Nick Vegas, nice. The Grayscale Gorilla.
The Grayscale Gorilla.
Love that dude. And
It's super cool.
yeah, it's very super cool dude to know. Just does amazing work too, and definitely big in social networking, which we have to talk to you about, Josh.
Right, exactly.
We got a bone to pick with you,
Totally.
Josh.
Yeah,
You
I
got to
know,
get
man.
on this, buddy.
I
When
gotta
I
get
went to promote the show, I'm like, okay, I'll go send him a message on Twitter. Wait a
nothing.
second. No Josh Bodnar on
Nothing.
Twitter.
Nothing.
Let's get on it, man.
I know, it's bad. It's something that I definitely need to do. And believe it or not, a lot of my clients they talk about it, and it's I feel like I got to jump in. I just got to jump in and start kind of rolling with it, you know.
Exactly, exactly. If you had a Twitter name, what would your Twitter name be?
Probably my name.
Probably just your name. If,
my name.
well, too bad it's taken. We did a search for it already.
Ah!
Somebody got it. You're gonna have to pay that guy 10 grand to get it.
Oh man, yeah, he's
That's
gonna
the
rob
going
me.
price, I guess.
Yeah. Nice.
Awesome. So, all right, let's get into some of your other work here. I've got your website right here. I'll load one of your other videos. Do you have a current project on here right now that is your favorite that you like to show people? When you tell them what you do, what do you show them?
That's a good question. My work's kind of, I like to be diverse in my work. I came from a motion graphics background. Clearly, I worked at Digital Kitchen for close to 8 years.
Uh-huh.
And, throughout that time, a lot of my good friends had kind of come and gone during that period. And so, I've worked with Shiloh quite a bit. A lot of my good buddies, my really good friend Andre Stringer, is a co-founder of Shiloh,
Mm-hmm.
and so we work together a lot. And probably, one of my current favorites is the spot we did. I think it was last July, which was the Guinness spoken word. Which I think is probably a perfect mix of the type of work that I like to do, where it's some dialogue-based, talent, based commercial, but it's also mixed with some visual effects and some graphics.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of that blend of really kind of all the disciplines of 3D, of graphics, of editorial. That those are the things that are kind of attracted to me right now, and just because I kind of understand the graphic portion of that, but at the same time too, now working at the White House, I'm editing a lot more dialogue based spots, comedy spots, and so those things are also like sort of a new little tool in my bag, and I think being able to combine all that stuff together. It's just been really fun, and it's opened up a lot of doors for me in certain areas. But I still I really love all the motion graphic stuff. I just finished another piece for the Ad Council, which was shot on the Phantom, and just all completely slow-mo of this world flipping upside down.
Let me interrupt you for a second, actually. Let's go back to this Guinness that we're kind of showing in the background here. If
nice.
anybody's watching this on your own computer, you're going to see a little bit more detail on what you see behind me. While this guy is walking through this sort of industrial sort of area, there are all these shapes and designs that are sort of following him and passing him, and they've got a little bit of glow to them. They're really, really sort of delicate, beautiful shapes. And right away, the designer in me is going, how in the world would I make that?
Right.
How would I put that together? You start thinking about the shapes and how they wrap around the person and when it starts and when it stops. But then, if I got into Photoshop, I mean, I could make a still, but I couldn't make it move. How do you make a shape like that dance?
It's interesting because I wish I could somehow show that, because I have a lot of the previs that we
maybe we should do that one time. Maybe
did.
we should get together and do like a little sort of walkthrough, like how you did a spot.
Yeah, no, I mean, that would be great. I mean, I think people learn so much from sort of the behind the scenes and seeing the tricks of how some of that stuff kind of comes together,
Would you come back for another show and we could prepare something like that?
Dude, totally. Yeah, I mean, we could
Awesome.
we could probably do a whole show just on
totally.
one commercial and just sort of like walking through the whole process.
We'll do a case study.
Dude, to be honest with you, man, everybody wants to know those types of things, and
Yeah.
I try to explain that stuff the best I can, and sometimes you just kind of have to like show it and walk through it and just see how those things happen.
What do you guys think in the chat room? Will you guys be up for that? Yes? Yeah?
Software tutorials.
I'm seeing some yeses. Hell yes.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do that. Let's start
Yeah, no,
talking
let's totally
about
do
that.
that. Yeah, I mean, I like I said, I have a lot of the stuff. Actually, most all the stuff I have. I've kept a lot of the storyboards and a lot of the beginning stuff, even some of my first edits too, because I think those are always so informative. After you
Right. Yeah,
finish
to
the
show the
job, you can kind of
process.
see where you started and where you end, and that whole type of deal. Yeah, a lot of stuff with the Guinness man. How it started out was it started out with his performance and his dialogue and how he sort of conveyed his energy in the spot. And once we had that kind of nailed, we started, through that process, we started talking about where can some of this design come. And so it was a lot of me taking shots and repoing and positioning and, trying to figure out exactly, where this stuff could kind of, there's a little bit of a script too that was involved,
Uh-huh.
but some of it we're kind of creating it as we're going. I mean, the editorial process is huge in motion graphics where you can start to kind of drive certain aspects of the piece to where to slow it down, where to pick it up, where to kind of have a nice gentle pause and relax the eyes a little bit, and then you kind of get into the flutter and cacophony of just crazy edits. So a lot of that stuff is happening, as we're working and we're coming up with ideas and all kind of collaborating in the room together.
Right, right. Somebody in the chat room just brought up a good question that I think we should do now. Did you study photography as well? Because there's a lot of things in here that have to do with light, and photography is definitely a study of light and being able to tell a story within a single frame. But you've got the added bonus of making things move. But definitely an important part of what you do is understanding light and how that helps you tell the story.
Yeah, no, definitely. I started out in a photography class in high school, and I just loved it so much because it was like I was able in the darkroom to really kind of create whatever I want. And the teacher at the time said, you should check out the video department. They have the same type of thing, except there's more than one frame, and it's moving images.
Right, right.
And so that's kind of really, my eyes kind of like went open, and I was like, oh, this could be really, really cool. And so then that's how I kind of made the branch or the leap, the bridge gap over to working in video. And I fell in love just being able to create and craft anything you wanted, and tell a story 8 million different ways, just depending on what you wanted to do. That became really, really kind of cool. And I still had all the aspects of photography that I had learned that was just, the framing, the composition, all of that just carried on with me, so that then when I was working with people and, when I was starting up, obviously shooting a lot of my own stuff, I had the skills to be able to kind of put all that stuff together and really just kind of know how it all would lay together in my mind, because I knew I was going to go edit my own stuff when I got back.
Right.
And, I wanted to make sure that I had enough options of close-ups and wides and everything, the continuity, everything fit together. So, yeah, it was definitely a really cool thing to have before I kind of, jumped into some of the other stuff.
Other than photography, are there any other sort of creative outlets that you still sort of do on the side?
Yeah, actually, well, for a long time, I DJ'd for quite some time.
Awesome.
I did that in college a lot, and yeah, it helped inform me on a lot of timing with music, which then in turn kind of, transitioned to my work a lot too, where maybe on some spots I was, making sound design, and that kind of helped influence,
Right.
the timing and the pacing of the music and the beat, and just kind of being able to understand the musical tempo of things. Unfortunately, I don't do it that much anymore. I just don't have enough time. But I definitely still have the turntables. I have like 3
I
or
was just
4
going to say, do
crates
you
of
still play
records.
vinyl at home?
Oh yeah, I got like 3 or 4 crates of vinyl at home just sitting there. It's just it's great to like pull them out every once in a while. I have a sampler for a long time too, which I ended up giving to one of my buddies, but. That was great, just being able to sample beats, and I was a scratch DJ for the longest time too. It's so
Now,
much fun
being a
just
real authentic
being
sort of
creative
scratch
and on the
DJ,
go,
what's your position on DJ Hero? Are you a sellout if you play that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's like I feel like you're kind of a sellout. You know what I mean? It's like I just feel
Have you
like
played it?
what is that? I haven't. I've watched a couple of people, but I have
Okay.
not played it yet, and I don't know. It kind of makes me just I frown almost. Yeah.
It's just not the same. It's not the same. Awesome. So one of the other things I wanted to mention is that DesignChat also is a Facebook group. We started a few weeks back, and I'll post extra things about the show there sometimes. And then we did a contest. Anybody who wants Wave invites, so I've only got a couple left. I just gave a ton of Google Wave invites out if you join the Facebook group, so definitely check us out there too. See, this is what I'm talking about, Josh, social media.
Man,
Got to get on the train, man. Got to get on the train.
Yeah, hey, this is the baby step for me, man. This is me getting on here. Now you've got me coming back for another show. But the next time I come back, hopefully I'll have like a Twitter, so then that'll all like fit in.
And then we can build up the promotion within the social community throughout that time.
Perfect.
And especially, you know what's going to drop a lot of excitement is if we start releasing bits of how we're going to show the sort of walkthrough. Like we'll come up with a name for how we're going to walk through the editing process, that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I think that right there in itself will sell a whole show.
Totally. So definitely, I mean, we're booking guests in February, March. We'll probably do like a midsummer thing. So we'll start thinking about June or July.
Cool. Sweet, man.
Radness. Okay, so let's go back to a little bit more your history, if you will. So you came from the West Coast.
Yep.
Were you born on the West Coast over there?
No, I was born in Iowa, and I ended up.
How'd you get to Seattle then?
Well, I was born and raised here. I ended up going to school in Illinois, and I wanted to get out of Dodge, man. And so I ended up going to LA. I was in LA for about a year, and then I moved up to Seattle. I have a family that lives up in Seattle, and people always ask me like, well, how did you get into a digital kitchen? And
right.
The answer was I walked in with a resume, said I want a job, and had an interview. That's really how it all went down. And Digital Kitchen at the time was extremely small. There was, I think, 7 employees. So
oh, wow.
It was completely just starting up, and I happened to just be at the right place at the right time, and I started working there, and we ended up moving a couple offices. And like I said, I was there for I was in Seattle for about 10 years, and I worked 7 of those years at Digital Kitchen, and that ended up transferring from Digital Kitchen in Seattle to Chicago. And I was in the Chicago office just for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then I went freelance. And like I said earlier, I have a lot of friends that have kind of started their own companies. My good friend Erin Sorofsky, she's actually here in town. She has her own company called Sorofsky. Shiloh, my friend Andre Stringer, is co-founder of that. I'm actually going to be headed out to Seattle here in January to work on some Microsoft commercials with another one of my friends who started a company called Oh Hello, Ty Tran and Dan Brown. And so it's really, I've done a ton of work with Superfad. One of my good friends, Rob Sanborn, is executive producer at Superfad in Seattle. And so Rob and I have done, just a ton of work together. So it's really just interesting once you kind of, get in the role of working with people. Everybody's a connection. Everybody ends up kind of moving out, going somewhere, and before you know it, they're calling you back to hang out and work. And it's always great to work with those people again that I kind of grew up working with. So that's always really cool.
That's awesome. So let's go back to your webpage here, and let's get in. How about those Bush, the Anheuser-Busch commercials?
Oh yeah, nice.
That you did. Those were a big hit too. Where'd they go? I'll find them in just a second, and we'll queue them up. So why don't you start telling the story about those and kind of where those came from?
Yeah, well, so I won AICP award for Budweiser Fresh Pour. That was a great little spot. It was just, Budweiser Fresh Pour won an AICP in, I think, 2005. That's actually in the New York Museum of Modern Art. Which is really, really cool. That was when the Phantom camera just came out. That was probably one of the first commercials that was done with the Phantom camera. And all it is a pour of beer. That's it. It literally consists of 3 shots. There's the shot at the front, which is a little bit of CG with the bottle cap popping off. It turns into a pour. that then ends up in a glass, a little drip into a glass. So there's a ton of compositing and rotoscoping. One of my good friends, Matt Lavoie, was behind that whole thing, and Paul Schneider, one of my director friends, directed it. And yeah, it's a really just kind of a classic, simple.
Tell us what's special about that camera that
piece.
came out. Was that something that was a new kind of look that allowed you to do this thing?
Yeah, I mean the Phantom, I mean I don't know technically all the different speeds, but it's like you're shooting 1,000 frames a second. I mean it's ridiculous how slow that footage looks. You know, and since then I've done a ton of projects. The latest one, as I was saying earlier, was the ad council spot that I did where these people are like literally floating in the air with stuff kind of, you know, all happening around them. I did a music video.
Is that up on the site?
Yeah, that's on the site. It's up the top right, ad council. I also did a music video with one of my director friends, Noah Konopask. We did breakers, breakdancing in slow motion on this Phantom camera, and it's mesmerizing stuff to watch because you know, it's just you can't stop looking at it because there's so much stuff going on the screen. You just kind of want to like soak it all in. So
Salvador Dali, looking at this World Upside Down ad council, Salvador Dali had a series of photos that he would do where he would have a lot of things happening at the same time. He'd have somebody throwing a goldfish bowl into the scene, somebody throwing a cat, but he's falling off a chair. It kind of reminds me of that all at the same time, but now moving.
Right.
You know, it's sort of the same feeling. That's really cool.
Yeah,
now,
it's definitely
one of the things
cool.
that people always sort of ask themselves when they see things like this is, well, can we really trust our eyes anymore? You know, because so many of these things can be done digitally and they didn't really happen in real life. So when we were looking at a lot of this craziness here, how much of this actually happened all at the same time?
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot of it was shot on green screen. So a lot of the stuff that you see flying in the air, clearly because of talent, you know, safety issues, a lot of that stuff couldn't be, you know, kind of
you mean
all
you can't
flowing
throw
about.
force at actors?
Yeah, exactly, right?
That's illegal?
So, I mean, in that scene right there behind you, so the asylum did all the visual effects, and so when that mother was flipping in the wide shot, the table and chairs, all 3D. That the table and chairs wasn't even there. Yeah. So the talent was on wires, and so there was a set of I think like 3 guys per person pulling them on wires. As they're kind of floating and making their way in the air. So there was a ton of like wire removal that had to happen. But then a lot of it was on my part too to take all these elements that were on green screen and just start placing them. Start figuring out where they're going to go, how they're going to fly, you know, what's the trajectory, what's kind of happening, that type of thing. So believe it or not, there's a lot of work in there, just kind of setting up and figuring out where all the kind of pieces go. But then there's even a more amount of work that Asylum did, just, you know, making sure that everything looks real and feels real and fits in the scene.
And one of the
composited
true
really
signs
well.
of success, I think, always when you see something like this, is that it is believable that this was all shot real. You know, it's all the work that was done is muted because it looks real. So you can't tell how much work and how much layering went into it because it's believable.
Yeah.
You know, and that's always a sign of true success in these projects. Oh, that's just awesome. It's got to be so exciting, and it's crazy, like all these hours and manpower that went into doing, what was that, 20 seconds, maybe?
Yep, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, we're then doing a 60-second cut and a 30-second cut and a 15-second cut on all that stuff. And yeah, it's just the credits list kind of roll, and it's just like, oh man, that's just a ton of people that were a part of that, you know.
What was the next one you started talking about? As we were talking about them, I want to kind of show them.
Let's see, I was talking about the Bud Poor, there's the ad accounts.
There's a Microsoft one that you're Nike.
Yeah, you know, I did a lot of stuff with, well, like some of the current stuff that I'm trying to get into now is, you know, I'm trying to get into a lot of fashion stuff right now. That's kind of like my new inspiration is fashion pieces, and so I'm trying to trying to slowly kind of, make my way into that world, which is a little bit foreign to me, but at the same time, like I feel like it's very visual and has a kind of a cool feel that I don't do that type of work, and it's like, once again, a lot of my work is sort of diversified, where I have a lot of different things that I can get into and I like to work with.
Right.
And that just seems to be something that I don't have very much of, and I'd like to kind of get into that. And it's always just kind of fun learning about those new types of things.
So projecting yourself into the future now, is this like, other than fashion, are there any other types of projects that you want to get involved in, or are there any other types of roles in this creative process?
Yeah, I'm actually, right now I'm doing a lot of, believe it or not, I've been staying really, really busy, which is great. And, I'm still getting a lot of calls from the entertainment world to do stuff, which is really, really cool. But then just kind of trying to push my way into fashion, I'm actually doing a 15-minute short right now with a director in New York on this woman who has basically created all of ribbons, and yeah, it's sort of a really kind of eccentric couture fashion piece that I think is really going to be cool. She's gonna the director is going to be submitted to Cannes here in February. So I'm really kind of excited about that, and it could kind of take me into a new realm, not only in fashion, but in sort of longer form stuff that isn't 30 seconds or 60 seconds, because that's something that I kind of want to branch into too a little bit, just to kind of see and feel that out on what that's about and how much different it is, because a lot of the experience I've had and conversations with other editors is that the film world and the commercial world are two different. It's apples and oranges. Although some things are alike, it's a lot. There's a lot of difference between the two. So, sort of making that transition and shifting gears a little bit, I think will be hard. But I think it's a challenge and something that's kind of pushing me to move on to the next thing and just kind of elevate the work that I have and try to kind of be vulnerable enough to get into new things and to understand new challenges and learn in a different way that I have been. So
as you started to work on some of these larger sort of scale projects, you're meeting celebrities or people who are sort of involved in this world, who are definitely sort of a high-profile kind of thing, and there's going to be some star shock a little bit. As you started was there sort of like a learning curve that went along with that? Are you completely numb to it now when you meet a celebrity like Michael C. Hall or something like that?
Yeah, no, I think you are too, because at the end of the day, really, they're at work, and you're just trying to vibe out with them and figure out where they're at, and it's really kind of all business, and that I mean, don't get me wrong, I still kind of get all, hot and bothered when you see a celebrity or something, but at the same point too, it's like one of those things where they're just a human like you and me. They're doing their job, and it's really all that they're here to do and make happen. So it's that kind of wow factor maybe is a little bit kind of done for me. But there are the moments where it's like, hey, that's cool, man. That's sweet. I like what you're doing there. Or, that was cool to see you.
Definitely one of those had to be standing on stage accepting an Emmy. I mean, tell us a little bit about that story.
It's really great, It's like that night, I was just kind of, it's up in the air. You just don't really know what's going to happen, and I was completely stressed out, and my wife was with me, and I think I was like grabbing her hand in the chair so hard, I probably left like marks in her hand how hard I was grabbing it, and they call your name, and I tell a lot of people too that they say when you're sitting at home and you're watching it. They don't know where to go. They don't know which way to walk. They don't know what to say. It truly is one of those moments where you're just kind of shell-shocked a little bit, and you're kind of a deer in the headlights, and you don't really know what to do. But you're just so happy that you're up there, and you're seeing all these people. I mean, I remember walking up in the front, and there's Kathy Griffin just like looking at me, like all happy, clapping. And it's like. That's crazy. What? I'm me. I'm from Chicago. Like what?
Right.
What about So it's definitely those type of cool things. And then of course backstage. That's the whole thing. It's like walking backstage after you're up there, walking backstage behind the curtains. You see all the celebrities just like hanging out, and then you get kind of funneled in, and then the Academy of Arts and Sciences. There's a whole roster sheet to actually sign for your Emmy, and it becomes yours. And you go down in the books.
Do you have that at your house right now?
I do. It's actually downstairs. Yeah.
How long would it take you to run down there and grab it?
It would take me 2 seconds.
Or 2 seconds?
2 seconds.
Or the next best thing is if you have no, you got to go get it. You got to go get it now. I'll entertain people. Seriously, run down. I want to see it on camera right now. I'm not even kidding. Go get it. All right. So we've got probably another 15 or 18 more minutes of chat here, and we're going to, I'm told that we have lots of questions from the audience tonight, which is awesome. I love to hear that, guys. Keep on asking those questions. Talk to each other in the chat. Keep it going. So as soon as he gets back and shows us the Emmy and I drool a little bit, we will get into the questions. I'm very excited. One of the things I want to announce is that we're going to be back tomorrow night. Oh, look at it. Speech. Right, speech. Look at that. That is radness. I can't believe this. We're looking at a real Emmy on DesignChat. That is so rad. He can't even hear me. I'm just blabbing along. I'm like crying. Oh my God, that's so amazing. Oh. Yeah, look how shiny it is. It's Attack of the Emmy on DesignChat. How rad. It's approximate weight. Let's give us the approximate weight.
Yeah, well, actually, I should ask you, why don't you guess? Guess how much it weighs.
I would say it's less than a bowling ball, but more than a bread box. Look at that. Oh, we can even read the text. Oh, you gotta hold it still.
Oh, nice.
Oh, Dexter, Showtime, Bodnar. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. Do you get chills when you touch that? Does it just like zap you back into that moment in time?
Yeah, it does. It does actually. So this weighs approximately.
Do you shine it every day?
I used to. Now she kind of just gets a little rub every once in a while.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a little raw.
Yeah. It weighs 7.5 pounds.
Wow. I was right. More than a bread box, less than a bowling ball.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. So here's a funny story. So the wings here on our little pretty lady, they're very sharp. I was walking at the. They sort of had this like gala ball after the ceremony. It's like drinking. It's like a prom basically. It's like drinks, food, yada yada yada. So I'm walking and I have the Emmy like this in my hand. Let me see if I get it right. And I'm walking and my hand's going up like this, right? And but just mind you, it's down at my hips. And I'm walking and all of a sudden I hear this, and I was like, what's that noise? There was a woman walking next to me, and my arms were moving. The wings went into her dress, and then when I pulled my arm back, ripped her dress. She didn't know. I heard the noise, looked around. My wife points, and I was like, oh, shit. I think I just ripped her dress.
Oh no!
So yeah, it was and sure enough, she was walking, and she had two little streaks in her dress where the wings had gone in.
Like a vampire bite or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what it was. It was.
So the rest of the night, you're walking around going.
So basically, I was like careful. I was like, so I better just like carry it and hold it like this, and so I don't, yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, could you like skewer a chicken on that and sort of do a
pretty much. No, I actually ended up doing a whole bunch of research like afterwards, just trying to figure out how the design came about and whatnot. And it's actually even funny too. Like on the bottom, there's a little sticker
made in Taiwan sticker. Is that?
Yeah, made in Taiwan. Yeah, exactly. It says that the statue is property of the Academy of Arts and Sciences.
Really?
If in fact I die, it goes to my next of kin.
Right.
If there are no more next of kin, it goes back to the Academy of Arts and Sciences. There's a box wherever this is at, their vault, that has my name on it, and this will go in the vault. Because I'm thinking to myself, hey, recession, maybe I should like melt this gold down and, sell some stuff, but that's completely illegal.
Is it solid gold?
Yeah, she's
What
so
can you
pretty.
tell us about the design about it in your research?
So the deal is that this is actually a funny story. So trying to figure out like where this woman came from, what's her story,
Right.
why she looks how she looks. So an engineer actually designed her off of just a sketch of his wife. So
Okay.
that's how she kind of came together, and then he kind of went a little crazy on the wings, and then this the globe is, everyone thinks it's a globe, but it's actually a some form of electron that back in the day they had the cathode ray tubes, and the scan lines and whatnot, and so everything had molecules and whatnot. So this is like a electroid from the cathode ray tubes. That's what this is supposed to signify.
Right.
The funny story is that the guy who designed this, okay, actually won an award for designing this. But the funny part is, the award wasn't this trophy. He got a plaque.
He got a plaque. It's
So
an award for the award.
The design that he made that I'm sure he wants to have, he doesn't have. It's just actually a plaque. So, yeah, I would be like so pissed.
I want to see what that plaque looks like,
Right,
It's
exactly.
sort of like
It's probably had this on it and just his name, and that's it,
Right, yeah. It's a weird sort of like never-ending loop of award and, cycling sort of thing. That's really
Totally.
All right, so we got to move on to the audience questions here. So let me just bring them up, scroll down here. Okay, so audience questions. So the first question comes from Spilled Karma, who asks, "Hey Josh, is Michael C. Hall as hunky in person as he is in Dexter?"
Nice.
A very designed question. Is he designed in a hunky fashion?
He's I know who Spilled Karma is, which is the funny thing.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, that's funny. I know who that is.
Okay.
And I would say yes, he is.
I'm glad to know that hunkiness has been confirmed.
Nice.
Also, so from Daniel Catino, did you work with Nick Campbell? I think that's a yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Nick and I worked together on, I want to say 2 or 3 jobs together. It was kind of a quick in and out, but Nick and I actually did a couple of side jobs together, which were really, really cool. Nick has, always has a lot of cool ideas, and he's just one of those type of guys that's just like, you know what, man, let's just make something. Let's just make it happen. And I was like, I'm kind of cut from that same cloth. So
Right.
yeah, Nick's really great, and we still stay in touch to this day. He's a really cool cat.
Redness. Richie Tubman wants to know, did you edit the opening sequence for Dexter? I think we've covered that.
Yep.
Garific asked, did Josh create the intro for Catch Me If You Can movie?
No, I did not. However, a couple of my buddies did. Yeah,
Okay.
They Prologue, I believe, did those titles, and a couple of my buddies did that, which are really, really great titles.
Agreed. Moving on, Chuck Stenik asks, have you created 3D in virtual worlds, i.e. Second Life?
Have I created that? No, not at all.
Not involved in any of that. So given that you're not really interested in this, or not interested, but haven't been involved in social media, then you haven't done a sort of a role-playing sort of Second Life sort of thing?
No, none of that.
No.
No, I've heard about it, but I have not made that step.
We'll get you there. Blank Pages wants to know, when does the score come in during the editing process? So at what point do you start bringing in music to your video?
I personally, the way that I like to work is when I start editing, I want to have some music to cut to. And so usually I'll find stuff that I like and that I feel is going to work well for the project, and I'll just lay it down and start cutting to it. But most of the time, a composer or some music reference, is kind of given to me, and I'm supposed to kind of start off with that, whether it's a demo track or, a track that's already been composed specifically for the spot. But when I edit, I always like to have something to cut to right away. I never rely on post-scoring, because I feel like the edit, the music and the picture need to kind of meld together in a layer and sort of become one. And when you have the edit and then the music later, sometimes that can cause just so many problems.
Kind of like how a zipper always works better if everything's functioning correctly and it can kind of grow like this.
Exactly.
But if one side of your zipper gets screwed up, or like it's zipped up and this comes off, you're never going to fit that piece back together because it wasn't built as a cohesive.
It sort of works, it sort of doesn't work, and it's like, why doesn't it work? And it's like, it's not zipped
and
together.
And then you get
100%.
a draft and people ask you, why is your zipper screwed up? And then
exactly. It's like, why is your zipper down? What's going on?
Right. DJ Photoshop wants to have you name your top 5 vinyl 12-inch singles that you can't do without. And any Chicago house?
I used to have a lot of Chicago house. I used to have, what was that? Fucking, oh, man, I can't even think of what that was. I would definitely say you got to throw a little Dr. Dre in there, a little LL Cool J. You got to have, I love Eazy-E. Done. Let's see. Man, that's
pretty hardcore, man.
That's some heavy stuff. I'm trying to think of something lighter that I had listened to.
Cut out there. I didn't even hear you on that one.
I said I need more time. That's such a complicated and personal
Think about
question.
that one, and in our July show or June-July show,
I'll come back.
We'll revisit that, and you know what? Maybe we'll even have you start off the session with the record spinning and everything.
I love it. Yeah, and this will just be rotating, right?
Yeah, man, that's gonna be sitting up. Oh, that'll be so cool. All right, back to the questions. Okay, so where are we at here? I am Joe Perez wants to know what project can he give us an insider tip in watching out for? So you working in the industry and that sort of thing, you're going to be aware of projects that are coming out, interesting things that are going to be released. What sort of insider things do you know about that haven't really been released to the public and that you can get sued for telling us?
Well, I can tell you that I won't tell you what the name of the show is, but you'll probably find it out anyways. There's going to be a East Coast version of Entourage.
Really? With a different cast?
Different cast.
How does that how would that even work?
I can't say anymore.
Well, you got to tell me something, man, because then you got to have that main character who is the main guy and then his entourage, right? Are any of the actors from the original Entourage in this one?
I can't say that either. I can't divulge that information either.
Same producers though, right?
Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, man. He's all up in it, and Rob Weiss is also in it as well.
Radness. When is that going to happen?
Next year.
You know what else I just heard about is there's going to be a what happened? Sorry, I got distracted. Something is very funny in this room, and I'm unaware of it. Another one I just heard about is Ridley Scott and it's a Gladiator team again. Ridley Scott and Australian dude. Why can't I remember his name? Dude who played Gladiator. 30 Odd Feet of Grunts.
I know who you're talking about.
Same dude, and director in Robin Hood. Okay, so if you watch a preview for this thing, for me at least, Russell Crowe. Thank you. It looks like a total train wreck because
exactly.
Because it's exactly Gladiator. It's Russell Crowe with a beard screaming on a horse, and instead of a sword, he's got a bow and arrow, right?
Nice.
And he's bloody on his face, and he's really mad about something. At the same time, like a guy, I love to watch those kinds of movies, and I love Gladiator.
Right.
But for me, it's going to kind of ruin Gladiator because it's going to be a caricature of the first one.
I can tell you that last Friday I had drinks with one of my friends who's a wardrobe assistant, and she sort of confirmed that Batman 3 is coming back to Chicago.
Really? Coming back to Chicago? You got to do it in Chicago.
Coming back to Chicago, yeah.
Nobody else has our architecture, man.
Yeah, I mean, come on, please.
Bradness. Bradness. See, this is a kind of what an answer to that question. That's awesome. That's why we do this, man. All right, so we're going to keep on moving on. Jules asks, what were your influences getting into this career? So, where were your artistic beginnings?
I would say what started it all was just the ability to just to make cool stuff. That's all I really wanted to do. I wanted to make cool stuff. I realized that someone somewhere was doing it, and I needed to be doing that. And however I could get in, that's what I wanted to be doing. So I don't think there was anything per se that I saw. I mean, I've always been a big fan of movies, and I just knew that there's some talented people doing this somewhere, and I need to figure out who they are and how I can get connected.
Was there like a movie or like a TV show or like a commercial that you remember as a kid that like always stuck in your head?
There was a Jackie Chan Mountain Dew commercial way back in the day.
Yeah.
That I gotta say was pretty cool, and I always loved. To be honest though, the one commercial that I've watched, I watch all the time, is for the Honda. It's I don't know if it's I think it's just a general Honda spot, and it's a choir. And they're all using their mouth and their vocal cords
Do the rain, right?
Make the sounds of the car and the rain and the outside.
Yeah.
That's one spot that I consistently watch over and over again. That just gives me a ton of inspiration, and it's stuff like that once I want to keep doing good stuff. I want to keep working and making cool stuff.
All right, we've got we got three more questions here. Nick Hannafy wants to know, are you a Damien Jurado fan?
I don't even think I know who
Damien Jurado is.
I don't even know who Damien Jurado is.
All right, we'll keep on moving then. Well, I guess not.
No.
Daniel Catino asks, do you separate editing from design, or you think about the movie do you think about the movie as one thing?
No. Well, I mean, I do think about it as one thing. Both of those are two separate things, and for it to work really, really well, they need to be woven together in a really perfect fashion. So a lot of people think that it's like, oh, just slap some graphics on top of that, we'll be fine. I completely disagree with that. The graphics need to fit and sort of work within the vehicle of the footage for a piece to come out really, really good looking. Because once you know that they're there, that's when it's not working. When you don't see them, and it just becomes, like, wow, that was really cool. I don't know why, but it's great. That's when you know that it's working and feels right.
Last question comes from Gray Ryder. What kind of training did Josh take to enter this field? Was the training worth his time, or would you recommend any entry level into any industry as the best learning experience?
I did have a lot of training, and what that was my father bought me a video editing system a long time ago on our home family computer, and I just started working and ended up, in high school and through college just doing the same thing because I loved it so much, and I just grew and learned new systems and learned new applications, and made my way through using tape-to-tape formats, using linear and then becoming nonlinear. I know how to use the Avid. I know how to use Final Cut. I know how to use Photoshop, a little bit of After Effects. So it's just basically gaining all those tools and kind of putting them together in my repertoire to have that has kind of led me to the evolution of just continuing to grow. So I can't say there was one thing, but I can say that, and I actually say too, a lot of the stuff I did in school wasn't really helpful because I learned more actually physically doing it and working in the, as an intern, or, I worked at TV stations when I was in college. The gaining experience with other professionals was how I learned the most information that I have to this day. School was just sort of like, it happened. A lot of the stuff really outside of school is where I got most of my education.
Awesome. All right, with that, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've reached our hour limit here. I know we could keep on talking all night about this stuff, and I'd just love to stare at that Emmy for the rest of the night. Don't fondle that. That's just inappropriate. Or pierce your camera. So thank you to everybody who came out to visit us tonight for the live chat. We do this every week, and actually we're doing this again tomorrow because we're pre-recording some shows to release during the week of Christmas and during the week of New Year's. Tomorrow we're going to be talking to Justin Ahrens from Rule 29. Check him out at rule29.com. On Twitter, he's at Justin Ahrens. And actually, Josh, let's pimp anything you want to pimp right now. You've got your website, joshbodnar.com, and we just put up a link to your blog too.
Oh, nice.
You want to talk about?
Yeah, no, sweet.
That.
That's the blog of mine is just something that I started doing because it was one of those things where I had all these ideas, these cool things that started happening. I want to start sharing them, and then it just become a thing of just just my influences and things that I'm liking and digging. And believe it or not, a lot of those things have actually turned into jobs for me. So it's kind of cool where my clients, friends, and peers can all kind of look at that, and it starts conversations. So it's really a cool thing. I'm just all about getting the work out there and letting people see it.
And another great way to do that is on Twitter. So you and I will work together.
Yes.
Like this week, we'll get We'll get you hooked up on Twitter. Watch my Twitter account at Hoopajube and at DesignChat, and we will be posting links to Josh's new contact and handle on Twitter and anywhere else that he pops up. And very much looking forward to our new project, which is we're going to be walking through sort of a case study of how your workflow and that sort of thing. We'll do that live and show some video. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that'll be so sweet.
Yeah, so thank you to Mashable for letting us do this here every week. Totally rad, being on mashable.com/chat. And thank you to Samata Mason for letting us broadcast from their design agency here in West Dundee, samatamason.com, at Samata Mason and at Visualize Change. Check them out. They're very rad also. So we'll be here tomorrow. Check us out. Design Chat. Thank you, Josh.
You betcha, man. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Later.